Hi everyone, my name is Kate Nelson, and this is my persuasive speech. A very common and popular form of entertainment these days is video games. At one point or another, everyone has played a video game at least once in their life, whether that be mobile games, console games, PC games, or arcade games. However, ever since video games have started taking off, there's been a debate of whether they're just games or whether they can create violence into the people who play them. I am on the side that says video games do not cause violence in people, and to prove this, I will be talking about what is considered a violent video game, the rating system on games and why they are important, and scientific data that supports why video games do not cause violence in people. Now, before we can get into the nitty-gritty of the debate, we have to talk about what is considered a violent video game, since there is kind of a lot of debate about it because some people are more sensitive to other things than other people. For example, some people think that the game Fortnite is a violent game because you are shooting at other people until you're the last person standing. However, I think this is a bit of an over-exaggeration since it's a very cartoonish animated game, brightly colored, and has childish accents that make it for the younger generation. Not to mention that there is no blood or dead bodies everywhere. Now, according to California law, a violent video game consists of killing, maiming, dismemberment, or sexual assault of an image of a human being, which would include like aliens or something that resembles a human being. Games like this would consist of Grand Theft Auto, Rainbow Six Siege, Resident Evil 2, and Mortal Kombat, all very popular games. Now, every video game has a rating, just like movies do, whether that be E for everyone or M for mature. These ratings are important because it is like movies. You wouldn't bring a 13-year-old kid to a rated R movie because it's not appropriate for them. However, the problem is that unless you're 17, you can't go to the movie theaters and watch a rated R movie. But for video games, you can be 13, go to Target and buy a rated M for mature video game and without getting stopped. Now, to dive a little deeper into this, we have to talk about the science end of this. I think it's reasonable that to consider that if violent video games cause violence, that you see that the increase of games bought and sold would go along with the increase in violence or crime charts. As you can see here, this chart by Alex Iona shows games released and titles bought within a year. And here we see a chart of US murder rates from 1960 to 2016. And if you look at the two, they actually do the opposite. When video games are not popular, crime rate is really high. But when video games start to become really popular, it drops off, which is a little strange if video games make people violent. So, and it's not only murder, it also is a lot of other crimes like murder, rape, robbery, assault, burglary, theft, and auto theft. So I thought, since most video game players are from ages 12 to 17, maybe the youth crime chart would be up with video games. But that doesn't match either. It rises when video games are not popular and then drops once video games start to skyrocket. Now, since the media likes to talk about how violent video games cause violence, I decided to take two examples and to go over them. One of which is the Columbine High School shooting, who was a fan of the first-person shooter game Doom. The other was the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, who was a fan of games including Grand Theft Auto and Left 4 Dead. Now, is it possible that these video games pushed these people over the edge to do these terrible things? Yes, it is possible. However, what the media portrays is that violent video games are taking normal, mentally stable people and creating violent people who would do these things, but that's not what's happening. Video game, these people are already on the edge of doing something like this, and it takes one little thing to set them off. It's not fair to blame something that millions of people do and that don't commit any crime on one thing just because one person does something like this. Now, to go over everything, the point is that video games really aren't the cause of violence. I mean, it is possible that people get a little irritated when they have to get off, but that's because they're doing something they really enjoy and don't want to stop doing, which goes for everyone and everything. I think that people and media want the solution to a big, scary, and complex issue to be as something as simple as video games, but that's just not how it works. Now, is it possible, can we be controlling certain things so kids aren't becoming desensitized to violence at a young age? Yes, and that is again following the rating rules. Don't give a 13-year-old kid, a rated M game, just like you wouldn't bring a kid to a rated R movie. As long as we were responsible with video games that we play and let other people play, we'll all be fine. Thank you for listening.